that you've got there.
Thanks, Babita, and yes, welcome to the BBC's 100 Women Conference, where I'm joined by two very special women to talk about the importance of the digital economy and the impact that it can have, particularly on the lives of women in business. So with me here is digital pioneer, dot-com millionaires and youngest ever female member of the House of Lords, Martha Lane Fox, and also renowned economist and author of several books, Diane Coyle, aka The Enlightened Economist. Many thanks to both of you for joining me. If I could just begin with the news of the day and everyone's favourite microblogging site, Twitter. Here at the 100 Women Conference, we've been asking women from all around the world to tweet, and they've responded in their hundreds. Today they released their share price for when they go public next month, slightly lower than many analysts were expecting. What do you both see as the future of microblogging sites like Twitter or Weibo in China for business and also particularly for women around the world? Martha?
I think, judging by the number of tweets going on in this auditorium and the frenzy of screens, Twitter's share price is likely to rocket.
Everybody's feeling their way through this in business.
Another big business story today is this meeting happening in Brussels and discussions over this so-called Google tax, this idea of a pan-European tax on digital companies, ensuring that governments around Europe get the correct amount of corporation tax that they should from the likes of Google, Amazon, etc. But it's a difficult balancing act, isn't it? Because on the one hand, here in Europe, we bemoan the lack of Googles and Apples and Samsungs. We want to encourage more entrepreneurship, and yet governments have to ensure they get the right amount of tax, don't they?
Yeah, I think it is possible to strike that balance.
Everybody has the incentives to invest.
Another big topic in Brussels is spying, or more particularly countries allegedly using technology to spy on each other. We all remember the PRISM scandal. Where do you think all of this and the ever-increasing probe of the digital world, where does that leave consumer trust?
I think this is an immensely complicated issue that we haven't even begun to find the language to properly talk about.
And the rules that we obey are lagging behind what's happening with technology.
Quick question to you both. Martha, you founded lastminute.com when you were 25. It floated back in 2000. Diane, you wrote your first book back in 1996. It was a very different digital landscape back then. No Facebooks, no Googles, etc. What advice would you give to young women, from two successful women such as yourself, to young women starting up in the e-commerce or digital world today?
I think the good news is that there are many, many things you can do in a much more low-cost, light-touch way.
It's such an interesting one, isn't it, Alice? All over the world, Madeleine McCann still on the front pages of newspapers.
As you said, Lucy, 6 years on and still so much attention, so much interest surrounding this story. I'm here on the 5th floor of New Broadcasting House in the world's newsroom, trying to get you some answers on this. And to help me, I'm joined by Steve Hewitson from the BBC's media show on Radio 4 and by Alex Ejikana from the BBC's Focus on Africa. Steve, that question to you. Why does this particular story still attract so much interest, so much attention?
Well, I think, it's one of those stories which is every parent's worst nightmare.
Alex, let's bring you in here. What's the reaction that you've been gauging internationally to this story, particularly from Africa? I know you're across all kinds of social media, and I think we've been inundated with responses.
Well, we've got quite a bit of response. You're absolutely right, Alice. And yes.
Well, we'll be finding out, Michelle, because I'm here on the 5th floor of the world's newsroom, near where the African services sit. And I'm very pleased to say that I'm joined by Mariam Omar from the Swahili service and Dawid Azami. Mariam, Michelle just then was asking whether these police officers were particularly glamorously dressed, because when I think of your typical Kenyan women, I think of bright jewellery, bold patterns, and I think of it as quite an important part of the national identity. Is it?
Actually, I wouldn't say they were glamorous together.
Yeah, and it unsurprisingly has provoked a huge reaction on BBC Africa's Facebook page. Some people there saying that they're really not happy about it. Ramji L.A. Rosie saying this is absurd. Our police women animals. What kind of women doesn't want to look good? Makeup, necklaces and bangles. These are women's things. Why stop them from wearing them? Others people think it's the right thing to do. Chandawala Chowli from Malawi says every organisation has its own rules and regulations. Imagine a policewoman wearing long earrings and meeting a violent criminal. Will he not injure her by pulling the earrings? Some of these orders are their own protection. And I suppose that's the point, isn't it? That we're not just talking about a woman's right to wear jewellery and makeup. We're both sitting here with our bangles and makeup on, aren't we? But we're talking about women doing a very specific, important job. wearing makeup.
And actually, we're talking of also health and safety. So
Dawud, I just wanted to bring you in here. Afghanistan, the female appearance there, it's not only subjective, it's political as well. What role does makeup and jewellery and general get-up play for women in Afghanistan?
Well, makeup and jewellery, a lighter skin.
The female appearance goes to the very heart of Afghan culture. Dawud Azami, Mariam Omar, many thanks for talking to us about this. I, for one, would be horrified if I was told that I couldn't wear makeup to work any longer. OK, this issue, again, is going to be discussed in Focus on Africa. It's 17:30 GMT, so do tune in for more on this. Back to you now, Michelle.
I think we're safe, Alice, in the TV presenting world. At least I hope so. Alice Baxter in the World's Newsroom.
And Alice, yeah, it is a controversial issue, isn't it?
Controversial indeed, and I can tell you that the BBC's Facebook page has been overwhelmed with negative responses to that court ruling in Malaysia. Just to give you two examples, Adnan Salim from Karachi in Pakistan has written to us saying that doesn't make any sense. Non-Muslims in Pakistan use Allah to refer as God. We don't have a problem with that. We've also heard from Hassan Matea from Sierra Leone saying that in his country Muslims use the word Jesus more often than Christians do. Well, as you say, I am in the BBC World Newsroom, and I'm joined by Emily Buchanan from BBC World, our world affairs correspondent, and I'm joined by Ellie Melki from BBC Arabic. Emily, if I could just turn to you first, because you used to be our religious correspondent. Just to recap, the word Allah in Arabic literally means the God, doesn't it?
Exactly, it means the God. It doesn't belong to any one religion.
As you say, it's a particularly Malaysian issue, and this is a country where tensions of this ilk have existed in the past, haven't they?
Yes, there have been religious tensions.
So what do you make of this allegation, if you like, within this court case taking place in Malaysia, that if Christians use the word Allah, it might encourage Muslims to convert to Christianity?
But actually, I don't think it's an issue.